We left Hardwick and Malindra just as they were about to start a game of cards, and we each went to our own tent so we could enjoy some sleep for the rest of the night. When I woke up in the morning, I went to eat some breakfast made by Flower, and then I called Rose to the transceiver in order to give her a short summary of what we have discussed with Araka during our meeting. Once I finished my conversation with Rose, after everyone else was also done eating the food, we resumed our journey with Malindra taking the lead as always. Not long after our departure, Darren began to ask Araka various technical questions about how to analyze auras, to the shock of everyone else around him. Seeing that he wasn't planning to shut up by himself, Araka eventually decided to stop ignoring Darren and to address him directly. "Have you gone daft?" Araka says. Our training session isn't scheduled until later this evening. Why the hell are you asking me all these questions now? Because what you told me doesn't make any sense, Darren says, exasperated. How am I supposed to find the right flow line at Barry's aura when there are millions of them? They all look exactly the same. What do you mean they look the same? Araka says. Each and every one of them is completely different, and even their movement are more or less independent from each other. Are you really that stupid? How much do I need to dumb this down for you to so that I won't feel like talking to a brick wall? I think you should start with learning how to detect the aura of a regular Sati first, Darren. Flower says in an uncharacteristically serious tone. Even Araka thought Barry was a normal Sati at first, and you know how good she is with auras. This isn't the kind of difference that she can tell at a glance without specially looking for it. Then you have no chance of finding it out on your first try. Luna can tell the difference between a Laseti and a human's aura, so maybe she could explain it to you in terms that are easier to understand. I told you that there is no need for you to call me by my real name, Iluna. Iluna says, you can just keep calling me Petal like you always do. Whatever you say, Iluna. Flower says. She's still mad. Iluna says, do what you will. Wait, you two are still fighting since yesterday's evening? I say, we're not fighting. The Flower says simply, right, I say. The clown girl does have a point, Araka says. Maybe having Iluna tutor him for a while until he is able to sense Laseti auras would be a better idea for now. If nothing else, at least I would make him stop pestering me with all these inane questions. Like if you also have a regular Laseti in the team, so he won't be lacking test subjects for his practice sessions. Test subjects, Layla writes with a bit of apprehension in her eyes. He only needs to analyze your aura, so you don't need to do anything other than turn around a few times for him to get a better look, I tell Layla. At most you're going to get a little dizzy, but nothing more than that. Okay, Layla writes, looking more relieved. I can do that. So Darren says as he looks hesitantly to a Flower, Luna, do you have some time? Or Luna's eyes turn blue all of a sudden, and Luna looks at Darren for a few seconds before answering. Come here, Luna says eventually. We'll see what I can show you until we reach the city. We traveled for a few more hours before Melinda finally told us that we were getting close to our destination. During this time, Darren has been practicing his aura reading skills with the help of Luna and Layla. Although from what I've seen, progress has been a little slow. Darren finally decided to take a break. Flower took advantage of this opportunity to ask Melinda about the new rock collection the new rocks she added to her collection in the past few days. Stat device lock check failed. That is hilarious. While Melinda was busy showing Flower her rocks, Darren decided to do one final check to see if we all still remembered our infiltration plans for the city while we discussed at length during the previous day. Alright, so everyone knows what we need to do once we reach Orlando, right? Darren says, yeah, we've been over this before, Hardwick says. Depending on how tight the security is, we either try to sneak in or we bust right in through the front doors. It's not like we have any other options anyway. Can we how are we gonna sneak in? Are we gonna go over the walls or something? Hold on, Melinda says as she suddenly turns around towards us. You have been discussing how to infiltrate the city of Orlando without including me in your meetings? Well, we asked you to join us a million times, but you just kept putting us off, so eventually had to do a meeting without you, Darren says. Not like we could just start planning these things. However, we already reached the city. Why not? Melinda says, confused. Wouldn't it have been better to wait and see the city's defenses before we made any concrete plans? Well, yeah, but it's not like we don't already have a general idea of what we might be up against, Darren says. And we already seen Thelius's defenses, so I'm guessing the Orlando can't be that much different. I assure you the Orlando is quite different when it comes to the defenses, Melinda says. Then why don't you just tell us these differences so we can adjust our plans accordingly, Darren says. Because it will be much more difficult for me to explain than to simply show it to you, understand. You will understand when you get there. Is she gonna fly us up or something? That would be a little troubling. Well, if worse comes to worse, Melinda, could you just fly us over the walls like she did in Thelius, right? Hardwick says, it's not like a few crossbowmen are going to stop us. We should be inside of the city walls in a few minutes and you'll have your answer. Is this a fucking dome or something that is like closed off on all sides? Then we'll have your answer, Melinda says. Now please stop talking so I can focus on these rocks and I want to finish showing them to Flower before we reach Olander. You do as Melinda says and we keep quiet for the next few minutes until she is done showcasing all her rocks. After she puts them in her backpack, Melinda tells us that we'll be seeing Olander as soon as we pass the line of willows in front of us. So, do you all remember when I told you that in Olander there are still preserving old relics from the Lesethi Empire's days? Oh, please don't tell me there's one of those towers in there and is forming a dome or something around the city, because that would be interesting. Yeah, we did say something like that when we were in the second state of God of Time's ritual. Why do you ask? Well, Melinda says, then she pushes away the willow branches in front of us so we can get out of the forest. When we see what we walk out of the woods stuns us briefly as we all just gaze in complete shock at the city that can be seen in the distance in front of us. This Melinda told us it looks like the ruins of the black Ceridium towers that used to gather magical energy for the old Lesethi empires are still preserved, but what she omitted to tell us is that they are apparently still functional even in the state of decay. In a similar fashion to how it all worked 5,000 years ago, these towers have flying platforms on each side of them which carry mages across their various levels. On top of each of the ruined towers there is a purple-colored yarn of magical energy that is moving chaotically in every direction. Someone must have restored these towers somehow, but not to their full functionality, because their size at least 4 times smaller than the towers we saw during the ritual, and the energy they are radiating is nowhere near as impressive as the one from 5,000 years ago. That being said, it looks like even this smaller amount of energy is more than enough to power up all the magical contraptions they could possibly need. The city above the air above the city is filled with flying metal vehicles and large holographic screens in the sky that we saw in the old Lesethi Empire are also present. Aside from all that, there seem to be quite a few 20-foot tall metal golems that are patrolling the area around the city, ready to attack any unwanted intruders. As we look at the city in front of us are we like on a mountain hill or something that we're looking into the city? As we look at the city in front of us with our jaws dropped, a lonely bird innocently tries to fly over the wall so it can get to the other side. Just as it passes the wall, the golem immediately turns its head towards it and it sends a huge beam of fire flying out of its mouth, which incinerates its target instantly, leaving only ashes in the air where the bird once was. That is kind of comedic, honestly. That is kind of comedic. Not in the sense like it's more in the sense of like they always do this to show off how like strict the security measure is. That is kind of funny. So we definitely didn't need to see that, but they added that just to show like, oh, look at the security though. But yeah, while the rest of us are simply staring in front of us disbelief, it is Hardwick who breaks the silence by asking Melinda questions. So Hardwick says, I'm guessing that's a no on the plan to fly us over the walls. Next chapter. And that is chapter 2. Oh wow, when are we going to reach his father, or I'm just going to fucking fail every check with this? Hopefully I can stay alive till then, but we'll see. It would be probably preferable if they just went in and I just like stayed out, because I literally can't do anything. Barry cannot help them in any way, shape or form, so... Okay, Melinda, Darren says, after we all retreat back into the forest so we can have another strategy meeting, I think now would be a good time for you to tell us everything you know about Olander's defenses. We're all ears. Good, Melinda says, although to be honest, I don't really know a lot more than you do. I haven't spent that much time in Olander. It's been quite a few years since I was exiled from this continent, so a lot of things must have changed since then. Alright, I almost forget that this was the reason that you wanted this king of Olander dead, Hardwick says. What did you do to get yourself kicked out of Arathia anyway? Didn't you say that you were born here? This is personal matter, Melinda said. I'd rather not talk about it unless it's absolutely necessary. Darren said, I still can't help but think that there is something important you're not telling us about your reason for coming back here. You don't seem like the kind of person who would go through all this trouble just for petty revenge. There has to be another reason why you would want to kill the king of this city. You're right, Melinda says, there is another reason. In short, the king of Olander has stolen everything very important from me, and I want it back. However, this isn't something that you should be concerning yourself with. All you need to do is help me kill him. I will handle the rest by myself. I see, Darren says. Well, as long as you uphold your end of the bargain, we will try not to meddle in your affairs then, whatever they are. What about Olinder's defenses? Kate says, isn't there anything you remember that could be used to us? Perhaps some obscure weakness that could help us fight those golems at least? The only thing I know is that all these technological advancements are all relatively recent, Melindra says. A few decades ago, the king has allied himself with the rogue Lassetti, and it's thanks to him that they have managed to turn those old Lassetti ruins into something functional. Those metal golems that you saw outside are also designed by him. The reason why I wanted to see them with your own eyes before